Hello everybody and welcome to Green Star Trading with me Tom. All views, opinions and ideas expressed in this video are my own and do not constitute financial or trading advice in any way. Right, welcome to another altcoin roundup. Now rather than trying to do half a dozen altcoins in one video, I'm just going to be looking at a couple at a time for each week going forward now. And this week I'm going to be looking at Tron and I'm going to be looking at Polkadot, or DOT USDT in this case. So we're going to start here with DOT, because I only recently charted this up for one of my Patreon members. And yeah, I'm going to give you a quick run through the account. Obviously we don't have much price data, we're only going back to August last year here, using the Binance exchange. Now, it is possible to look at other exchanges of course, but what I try to do when I'm trying to find a chart I can actually work on is something which limits the excessive wicking, the volatility spikes which occur, and the Binance chart, in my opinion, is the cleanest one I've come across, so that's the one I've worked on. Now we're going to have to shift into log scale to make sense of this, so I'll just give you a quick rundown of the account as I have it. The way I'm looking at this is that we topped out in the primary wave 1 in May of this year, have since likely completed the primary wave 2, and are now heading higher in a minor 1, looking for a minor 2 correction before making new all-time highs. So I have a intermediate 1, A, B, C into intermediate 2. I then have minor 1, 2, this is an expanding flat, minute 1, 2, minuet 1, 2, WXY here, 3, 4, 5, 3, 4 at minute, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 minuet at 5 minute, 3 WXY at minor degree here into the minor 4, and then I move up into the intermediate 3, A, B, C flat pattern into the intermediate 4, and then 5 more final minute waves into the intermediate 5, completing primary 1. And this is our high up here on the 16th of May. Since then I've got a zigzag correction. Now you could argue that this is a 3-wave move of what's going to be another 3-wave move into a B and then a 5-wave move down into a C. That is possible, but for the moment we will assume the simplest pattern, and that's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-wave move into an A, B, C into a B, and then a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 move into a C, completing a primary 2. Since then, I should say, I see a minute wave 1, 2, minuet, 1, 2, minuet 3, 4, 5, minute 3, and then an ABC expanding flat into a recently completed 4, and what looks like 5 waves forming higher up now to find minute 5 of minor 1. So that's how I see the count currently. I'm just going to add a little bit of labeling to it. So I'm just going to add the ABC here. This will be a minuet degree. So let's just come down a bit. And then what looks like 1, 2, so 1, 2 in here, maybe 3, 4. We might have to come down to a smaller time frame here. Now we've got an overlap here between this wave and this wave, so this could be a running flat. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, ABC swing, it could be. So that's how I'm going to label it for the moment. Now this could be the 1, 2, and this could be 1, 2. Got an overlap here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. BC 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2. It's possible that this is an extension in a 5th wave. There is one other alternative we'll consider in a moment. So let me just, if that's the case, that won't be the 1, 2, will it? 3, 4, 5. It would be a 3, 4 and a 5 higher up at the mine at this degree. What degree are we talking about here? Minute, so this would be minuet degree. Okay, let's try and not take too much time to do this. And then this would be sub-minuet at this point. Oh no, wait a second, no it won't. Or will it? Yes it will, excuse me. So that could be 3, A, B, C into a running flat, 4, no overlap with the 1, then a 1, 2, looking for the 5 of the 3, and then the 4, and the 5, and the 5, and the 1. Alright, that'll do for the moment. That looks like the best I can manage at the moment. Okay, let's just consider a quick alternative before we move on. One thing that I find quite compelling about this count is we had such a definite low down here, whereas in like the Bitcoin market and some of the altcoin markets we got this a double bottom instead. We got a definite low here, so there's no ambiguity trying to say that there's an A, B, C off the low like we've seen with some of the others. This looks like a V completion just down here. So the only way you could interpret this bearishly would be as a flat pattern, which means we have to retrace at least 90% of the high. So I will explain what I mean. So let's just put 90% up here. Now we're going to switch into linear scale here because we want to work on a linear scale when taking a 90% retracement measure, because we want to err on the side of caution and let it be precise. So what I mean by 335 flat pattern is this is a 3-wave pattern, okay, and then this will be a 3-wave pattern, and then this would be a 5-wave pattern heading lower into a C. That's the only bearish option I see at the moment. If this is a 335 and into a deeper primary 2, then I would expect to see it retrace all the way up to this purple line here. I'm just going to save that in place, put a price label on it, and we'll call this 90% flat retrace. This is the expected target. The target we would expect to see if we're going to be doing that flat pattern. We want to come to at least a 90% retracement of this move down to get that 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 flat, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the C, A, B, C. So either way you cut it, there's still room above us to run at the moment. If the bullish count is correct, then there's the other interpretation would be to suggest that we've gone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at minute degree. Like so. Let's just shift this into orange. So rather than going 3, 4 in a flat pattern here looking for a fifth to come, you could argue that we've gone 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 to here, sorry, 5 into a 1, and then a very sudden and violent wave 2 at a higher degree. I don't like that because you'd expect a minor wave correction in time to be greater than a minute wave correction, and you'd expect that to be greater than minuet, and minuet to be greater than subminuet, and subminuet to be greater than micro, and all the way down and all the way back up. That's how we'd expect it to be. So this looks awfully quick for a wave 2 at minor degree. The other option you could argue is that this was a wave down into an A, this is an expansive B in at minor 2, and then a C will come at minor 2. So that would be the better alternate orange count. So I'll leave that as the alternate bullish count, but that will still be very bullish, and we would expect to see further move higher. So in the meantime, if we pivot here, then maybe the orange count of 1, 2 is correct. If we continue higher, we should be looking for this retrace target of 90% at 45.79, and then we'll see what happens, because that's the minimum target for a flat. A flat pattern could come down in 3, go up way beyond the previous high in 3, and then come down in 5 ways. So that's still an option as well, but for the meantime, I see further upside. For DOT, we may have this correction into a 2 down here, but then we will get further upside even more so, because that would be a very bullish count. So let's see if we complete something up here, perhaps in a wave 1, down into a deeper wave 2, or whether we're coming up to complete a 3, 3, A wave, B wave up here. Okay, so that's how I see DOT in the meantime. If we notice, we do notice how we have come back into the golden zone here, the 61% golden ratio of the light yellow line in linear scale. We hit this and got an immediate sell-off, but we've since come back through this level. So that's quite bullish, because we broke that 61.8 and we've come back through it again. Right, now I mentioned that before we move on to Tron, because we have a similar setup here in Tron. So let's just change. This is the retracement, isn't it? So let's just shift this into my golden ratio and 50, and I'll just hide that for the moment. Okay, so we've gone over Tron on the longer term count before. If you haven't seen it, go back and watch it on the previous on a previous altcoin roundup. So here, a very similar setup, very similar setup, except we did not get this obvious low. Okay, we got this rather ambiguous double bottom here. Right, so this makes things a little trickier. Now this low is higher than this low here, so this is a legitimate, possibly legitimate 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into a 1. It's also possible that we're doing something a bit different. So let's look at the two options first. The first option I see is a completed expanding flat pattern. So let's just bring up our trend lines here to fill out the chart data. So that is simply a free wave move into an A, free wave move into a B, over the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 completed 1, completed 2, and now this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into a 1 at a lesser degree, coming into a 2 sooner or later, off into a 3 to new highs. That's the most bullish count I can see at the moment. This does to me look like 3 waves off of a high, and this looks like 3 waves back into a B. Let's just check that we did get at least a 90% retracement off of this high. So now we're going to need to switch back into our standard fib retracement tool. And you can see that we actually go beyond the 90%. I say 89% because 89 is of course a Fibonacci number, but we go through it with a wick here. So this is plenty deep enough to say that it's a wave B, and it did not make a new high, so we don't have to worry about it being considered to be a wave 5 unless it was truncated. A truncated wave 5 is far rarer than the very common flat pattern we're witnessing here. The regular flat is less common than the expanding flat, where the B would go beyond where the A began, or a running flat where the B would also go beyond where the A began, but the regular flat is far more common than a truncated fifth wave of an impulse. So on that basis, that is, in my opinion, in terms of probability, the more likely count that we've done a free wave move down to here. So the next question is, free wave move complete or free wave move not complete? That brings us back to the same idea as we have here in Polkadot, but a different way of looking at it. So as the count's developed, we've got this possibility that this is all of this huge correction of free waves is just the first free wave move of an A. And then this is a free wave move of a B, but in that case we would be expecting to, because we didn't get 5 waves, so it can't be a zigzag, it has to be a flat pattern. So once again we would be expecting to see a 90% retracement of price, minimum, bare minimum, in order to get the required 90% retracement for a flat pattern. So as the prices develop, these counts start to get clearer and start to become less ambiguous, but for the moment I think I'm leaning on the side of a completed correction. I've been more bullish on the altcoins than some have lately, and I did essentially call the bottom of most of the altcoin market back here in June after I saw this initial pivot as a 1-2. So 3 waves down, looks like 5 waves up, should get a significant correction sooner or later. We have 2 targets here. Now if you notice, I'll just put us into log, it's a little easier to see. And I'll just bring up fib retracement here from the high. So similar to Polkadot, we came up, hit the 61.8% golden ratio, which is also the minor wave 1 target at linear scale based off of the length of 1 and 3 projected from 4, and we came straight to 61.8%, hit this area here, hit the golden ratio, and immediately reversed. That's exactly what we saw in Polkadot. We've since seen a similar move up as we've seen in Polkadot, we've seen here in Tron, and that has also taken us through the 65 fib level back through the golden zone, and now we're heading for the second target, which is the same target as this one we used to measure, but this is just in log scale instead, and this is at 0.1237 rounding up to 3 essentially. So there is potential resistance above our head. Now, if we were to reverse here and then start to see a three wave move down, that would confirm for me that this was the more likely count. We were into a 1, into a 2, into a 3. If we continue to push from here, okay, then it's possible this isn't an A-B pivot here, okay, but it's actually more likely A, B here, C to this 90% target, and then that 5 wave move can unravel to a lower low to get our C. Okay, so for the meantime, I'm still bullish. I still think we've got higher to go either way. We may have a more significant pullback for that wave 2, but if we do get that, I would consider that very positive because we're going up into that wave 3, is how I would see it. So let's just do a little bit of housekeeping up here and put a little target up here as well. Same deal. 90% retrace. Flat. Question mark. Just to keep that in our mind. Alright, now is there anything else I want to look at quickly? Let's just see how we're doing with the geometry of the market here, what forks and channels we've got. That's based off the major 1-2 pivot. That's based off the primary 1-2 pivot. So let's put one at minute degree and see if this pattern holds out. So then we can go and look at the larger ones. I'm not sure if I've kept the pitchforks in a folder for Polkadot. We'll check before we leave the video. So let's just work at minor degree for a minute, or minute degree, and see how things look here. We're going to need an original pitchfork in log, I think. How's it look in linear scale? It's probably the better fit. Not particularly convincing. How's the shift look? Oh, it's completely off. What about in log? No, it doesn't look any better. Okay, what about... No, modified shift doesn't look any better either. Original pitchfork in log suggests we've already fallen out of it. So I think the linear pitchfork is the best fit for this. So let's just simplify it and choose the lock it in place for the moment. So settings, and we'll change this to a simpler version. Okay, so here at the moment, the thing which stands out to me when I look at this pitchfork is price data from a bullish perspective has just been very weak. We've got very close to an overlap in the wave 1 here, but didn't quite do it with this ABC swing. So if this is 1, 2, and this is 3, 4, it's still a legal impulse wave. Now, it is relevant, there's no doubt about it. Look at the effort made to keep inside the pitchfork with all these lows. Low after low after low after low after low after low after low. To try and stay inside this thing. And move to the median line. And move through the 61.8, 38.2 back to the outer bound. Back to the 38.2 to the extreme outer bound. Straight back up to the median line now. Near these targets. So we're in a resistance area. We're heading towards that secondary target for a wave 5 to complete minor 1. We're right at the median line. We're still a ways off the golden zone in linear scale off the 61.8 golden ratio, so perhaps a push higher to there, and then we can complete and fall out of this pitchfork to find the minor 2 down here. So it's hanging in there. It's still inside the bounds of it. It hasn't broken it completely, but it's not particularly convincing either. So we'll just hide this now that we've put it on the chart. Let's just click on the damn thing. Hide. So let's have a look at the more longer term ones that we're dealing with as well. So we want to put that into our forks and channels folder. Okay, so this is the pivot off of the intermediate 1-2 as I see it. 1, 2. So far, I mean, how's it looking log? Any different? A little different. It seems here that the level that is most significant in the early stages of this larger wave degree pitchfork of a 1 and a 2 at intermediate degree, the most significant level is this yellow line here, the 61.8, because we've got stopped here, down to the bottom, back up, stopped there at the yellow line again at 61.8, down, back up stopped here again at 61.8, down, back up, stopped here again at 61.8. So from a bullish perspective, a break of this constant resistance, this rising trend line, which is the 61.8 here, and the push higher, that's either going to complete that retracement or into a more expanded pattern before coming out of this pitchfork, or it will result in a higher wave one, a pullback, and then a move up to the median line to find the next wave degree. So yeah, waiting to see this level get broken. The 61.8 from the median line on the bottom side of the pitchfork here, which has proven really stubborn resistance the whole time. So let's have a look at the other one. This is off the primary degree. Okay, so this looks cleaner than most at the moment. Let's get rid of some of these targets. They're really getting in the way now. And let's just throw this into its own folder. I'll call this 90% retrace flat question mark. Okay, so I can hide that now. I know what I'm looking for. And let's just get rid of the count as well. And let's get rid of this fib. Okay, so now we're just purely looking at geometry for a moment now. So while we're doing this, let's bring up our basic technical analysis. So let's get rid of those trend line. Let's bring up our exponential moving averages. We have a 10 in yellow, 20 in blue, 60 in orange, 250 in green. And let's bring up our momentum indicators. We have an RSI set to a 10 close with the green 30 level representing oversold and the red 70 level representing overbought. And we have a MACD with a 10 for the moving average and a 20 for the signal. So here the pitchfork has held strongly the whole time, and we've come back up through the median line and are now heading into the 38.2 here. This is some of the ugliest price data I've ever seen at any time ever. The problem with some of these lower cap, low volume cryptos, in the alt market, essentially, you just don't always get clear Elliott wave structures. Geometry can still be very useful. The Elliott wave count can be useful as a guide, but the structures themselves can be a little haphazard when dealing with these smaller market caps, unlike when we're dealing with like large and mega cap stocks, for example. Move back up through the levels here. We're hanging around the median line, hanging around the 38.2 now. Okay, so let's hide this now and just have a look at everything else. So we've got bearish divergence on the RSI and the MACD between previous highs and current price action. So that's fundamentally bearish. So let's just mark that here on the RSI so you can see it clearly. And also on the MACD as well. No, that's a straight line. We don't want that. So there we go. Meanwhile, price continues to head higher. Like so. So we've got bearish divergence between the previous high and current price action. And we have on the smaller time frame between this high and the recent one as well, current price action is also showing divergence. Not so much in the MACD. I think it's ever so slight. We haven't quite taken out that smaller high. So this supports the idea of a reversal coming sometime soon. So at 1, 2, 3, 4, WXY or zigzag into a flat, push up into a 5, complete this divergence, come down into a 2. Right? Reset the divergence, likely with oversold conditions, then push up to new highs in a 3. That's one way of looking at it. The other way is that this divergence between this high and this high remains intact as we put in that B wave, but for the moment I'm siding with, not saying it's right, I'm just more inclined to look at this as 5 waves than 3. I feel like it's 5 waves more, and I feel like this is a legitimate 5 wave 335 correction. Okay? And looks better, to be honest, in linear than it does in log. Let's just check what the retracement was. We're going to need to set this as a wave 3 fib. You come straight to the 131.8 here as we bottom between the 131.8 and 123.6. So this is a perfectly acceptable expanding flat pattern which doesn't go too far beyond the pale at all. Alright, so above the 10, above the 20, above the 60, above the 250 exponential daily moving averages, so price action is still bullish regarding the moving averages here. We had a breakdown, broke through the 60, bounced straight back up. A wave 2 will normally coincide if we are completing 5 waves, and we are going to reset the RSI, and we are going to get a sensible retracement. I say sensible inverted commas because they can be very shallow. If we get a deeper retracement, a test of the 250 somewhere around here would be likely. Okay, so now let's have a quick look at Polkadot before we wrap up the video, and we're going to do the same thing here. We're just going to put that new labeling into its own folder. This is 90% retrace flat question mark. Okay. Now what's this lot here? That's to add to the bullish count, to the count, okay. And these are alternates, aren't they? So let's just create a little folder and put these in an alternate count. Right, there we go. That's that done, and let's just tidy everything up now. Get rid of all these fibs, get rid of the Elliott wave count. Which one's this one? That's the alternate count as well, so I can go in there. Okay, so let's bring up our exponential moving averages. Hide the object tree, bring up the indicators again. Now, I haven't really got any long-term pitchforks to work off here. We haven't got the same historical price action as we have in Tron, as we're only going back to September 2020. So, other than the initial pivot here to here, I don't think I've placed that. Before we move on, let's have a quick look. That's current wave degree, that's going to be in log. That was the inside for the correction, and that's the long-term one in log scale, which we've now left completely off of the 1-2. So that all that confirms is that this initial move up into the high, which we have for our count, this was the completion of the wave 1, and we've since fallen completely out of that wave degree pitchfork, so that's no longer relevant. So let's pick out the low from all the price data we have, all the way back here. Let's run this sucker up. Just try and get the top. We might have to zoom in with the spyglass tool in a moment. Okay, I'm just going to need to make the chart a little bigger to make this a little easier on me. Come on, you beggar. There we go. Right. I can lock this in place. Alright, so far, on the way back up, we've snagged around the 61.8, snagged around the median line, tested it here, broke through it here, tested the 38.2, came back to this 38.2, tested that, back through the median line, back tested it, back to the 38.2. So we're just moving between these two levels here at the moment. Same gig as Tron. If we see another push higher from here without slowing down, then I think the idea of a 3 and a 3 becomes more likely. If we reverse from somewhere around here to find a deeper 2, that's more bullish over the long term. So anyway, let's get back to the basic analysis. Now, widen the chart, bring up the indicators. We're on the 2-hour chart here. Let's just come out to the daytime frame. Hide this pitchfork now that we've placed it. Yeah, so it's a similar story, really. I mean, we're back above all the major moving averages, 10, 20, 60, 250, but we've got this long-term, well, not long-term, a month of bearish divergence building up. Okay, it's less apparent in the MACD than it is in the RSI. In the MACD, it's really just between the recent high and the current one. So the option that we were considering, that this could be a 1 here. This is a 1, and this was a 3 wave swing into a 2. That's a possibility with this divergence building up. So if we were to retreat from here, and take out this low, and take out all of this impulsive structure here, that would be my expectation, that we were doing some kind of free wave move into a 2. Okay, like I said, if we continue to push from here, then we really have got to keep an eye on that target of 90%, because that makes the long-term flat pattern more likely. But we do have an unresolved bearish divergence here, which should result in a correction sometime soon. As I've often pointed out in the past, you can't call this a true divergence while you're dealing with current price action. You can only call it a true divergence while you're dealing with confirmed highs. So for example, this is a confirmed high here, and this is a confirmed high here. We had a swing high, swing low, which took out all the previous price data. So this was a high, and this was a high. And between these two highs, we had a clearly confirmed divergence here between this high and this high, two actual confirmed highs, all the way down here. And then we had this break in price. So this divergence preceded this thrust down. So this current move up can't really be called divergence yet, because we could come up, take out this high and this high, and it's just temporary divergence with current price action. But if we do get another confirmed high here and a breakdown, that would be double divergence, two highs, two successive highs after the initial where the divergence began. So that's something to keep an eye on. Alright then, so that's it guys for Tron and DOT, and let's have a quick look how we've done for time on this one. Half an hour, so that's just covering 2 altcoins, so I don't think I can do any more than that in a video. It's not really fair to ask people to sit for anything longer than that. And besides, I have a life to live and stuff to do and errands to run. I can't spend hours in every video covering all these altcoins. So next week we will look at 2 other altcoins and we'll keep cycling them in. I will introduce Ether next week, as I completed my deep dive for my patrons, and they've watched part 1 and part 2 now, so they've had plenty of time to absorb that, and I'll be bringing it to YouTube next week. Right, so if you're new to the channel and you've liked what you've seen, please smash the like, subscribe, hit the little bell notification icon to remain informed of future video releases. Feel free to leave us a comment in the comment section below if you want to, and thank you as always to my patrons. Your support is greatly appreciated. If you're interested in becoming a patron, there's a link in the description box below. Head over, have a read of the tiers, see if there's anything that interests you, and if you're not following me on Twitter yet, there's also a link to my Twitter feed in the description box below also. Alright guys, take care of yourselves, and I'll be back with you later in the week. All the best, bye bye.